Welcome to Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. I'm a retired 20-year veteran sergeant of the Los Angeles Police Department, and I am not afraid to pull the covers back, expose that thin blue line, and talk to you honestly and candidly about police training, police policy, and a whole lot about police culture. Hey, welcome to Sergeant Dorsey Speaks on all of my social media platforms, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. What's up, family? I wanted to come to you because, here we go. You guys have probably seen it by now, but what you haven't heard is what Sergeant Dorsey has to say about it. And that is the social distancing assault by NYPD officer Francisco Garcia that occurred over the weekend. And so listen, here we go. Now, you know, I've been telling you guys, family, when you look like me, and some of you can't do what white folks do when they storm the Capitol with their little AR-15s and rocket launchers and expect, to get your picture taken with local law enforcement. You can't do that when you look like me and Donni Wright. And so evidently over the weekend in New York, there was a problem allegedly about social distancing, some folks not maintaining the proper distance. And oh, by the way, officers initially said they saw allegedly a big bag of marijuana. And that's what started the brouhaha. Officers wanted to have a conversation with a man. I think it was two guys and a female. And there's video of that kind of shows how this thing all got started. As officers, plainclothes officers on the NYPD, were having a conversation and possibly taking someone into custody. Donni Wright, 33 years old, as well as many others, gathered around. That's what folks do. We have a right to make sure that our brothers and sisters are not in harm's way as best we can, that they're not being unfairly treated, unnecessarily assaulted. We want to make sure that they live through the encounter. And so the group was gathering. Folks were taking pictures, as they do. And you know that officers don't like it when you take their picture, particularly NYPD. I've seen many videos, and probably you have too, of NYPD officers slapping video recording devices out of the hands of folks who are recording, being threatened with great bodily harm for their recording when it's your right to do. But understand, when you do that, you run the risk of being assaulted, particularly if you live in NYPD jurisdiction. And so while this was going on with the officers who were engaged in some kind of apprehension of alleged possible possessors of marijuana, this was about 5:30, and it was on 9th Street and Avenue D on Saturday. And what happened is officers were taking someone into custody, and Billy Badass, aka Francisco Garcia, was involved in that detention. And for whatever reason, as he was, and it's in the newspapers, kind of gently assisting someone to the ground to get handcuffs on him, he looked up and he saw, Donni Wright and others. Officer Francisco Garcia then decided that he wanted to stop, because now these people are in custody, they're in handcuffs. So he wanted to stop that and go deal with people in the group. And he honed in on Donni Wright for whatever reason. He honed in on Donni Wright. So he stands up, Francisco Garcia, and he starts walking in the direction of folks, Donni Wright. And he says to Donni Wright, "Get the fuck back." Right? So professional. Anyway, I guess Donni Wright and the others weren't backing up quick enough for him. And so now we're about to have a whole contempt of cop situation. And you know what that means. You piss them off and there's a price to pay. Francisco Garcia was pissed off. And because he looks like he's a little guy, he looks to me from the video, you be the judge. I'm looking at, his little legs. Looks like he's probably about a 32-inch inseam on his pants, probably 35, 32, right? Yeah, probably spends a little time in the gym, and he's moving a lot of weight around, and he thinks he's Mr. Such a Much. And so he jumps up and he waddles and waddles over in the direction of Donni Wright and tells him to get the fuck back the fuck off, because that's supposed to really, scare you. And then when that doesn't work, then he pulls out his little taser and he starts clicking it. And you can hear him clicking it in the direction of Donni Wright. Now, I guess that was supposed to further intimidate him, like, I'll tase you. While he doesn't say it, he's clicking it as if he will, and he's pointing it in the direction of Donni Wright as he is aggressively approaching, storming, if you will, in the direction of Donni Wright. And then when he gets close enough to him, Francisco Garcia puts the taser in its holster because he had no reason to use the damn taser in the first place. He only brought it out because he wanted to intimidate somebody because his little presence didn't do it. And so he wanted to back that up with a taser. And then when that didn't work, he had to put it up because, listen, if he had a reason to taser him, why not use less lethal? Why not use your taser? But no, he didn't have a reason to taser Donni Wright, so he put it back up, and then he walked over to him and slapped him. He slapped him, he punched him, and he knocked him down. I'm going to share the video with you and let you take a look at exactly what it is that happened. But when you watch this, understand this is not Francisco Garcia's first time being aggressive with other folks. And I say every time we see something that makes national news, this is how this officer gets down. He did it too freely. It flowed. He didn't even think about it. He was in a zone. He wasn't paying attention at that point to anybody else. He was singularly focused on this ass whipping he was giving Donni Wright. Here's Officer Francisco Garcia, and you can see from these still images that were taken from bystanders exactly what that looked like. Now let's look at the video.
Y'all go to jail. Go to jail. What's going on? I didn't do nothing. Don't tell me about that. Move back. Move the fuck back right now. Move the fuck back. Move the fuck back. What are you flexing for? Don't flex. You're lost up too. Look. He ain't even do nothing. He ain't even do nothing. Look. He ain't even do nothing. He ain't even do nothing. He pussy. That nigga pussy. That nigga pussy. Fuck out of here. Yo, I got all that. He got all that. That's right. Clean the street up. Clean the fucking street up. Clean the street up. Clean the fucking street up now. Back up. Back up. Back up. Back up. Back up. Get up, get up. Clean the first. Ain't no got nothing. Suck my dick. Suck my dick. Suck my dick. Suck my dick. And I ain't got nothing. Suck my dick. You need mine. Man, that's the shit, man. Man, my boys. My boys. I got all that shit. I'm about to, yo, I got it uploading right now. It's uploading right now, nigga. It's uploading right now. Look at the
So you see there, once the young man is in handcuffs, there was no reason for Billy Badass to be sitting on his head and neck with all of his weight. He's in handcuffs. He's not a threat. He's not resisting. He poses no threat to the officer, yet he wanted to inflict further pain because he wasn't done showing him who's the boss in that situation. And so he continues to sit and bear his weight on this young man's head and neck. Then you see another officer come up. He doesn't get on the young man, Donni Wright's neck. He doesn't put his weight on his head as he lay there handcuffed, not moving. So then Billy Badass, Francisco Garcia, jumps up because he's not done kicking ass, right? He's looking around and trying to see who else he can go and assault. And then he goes off, and of course we don't see any more from him. But you saw there in addition to the video, you saw that I shared some information regarding previous lawsuits. I told you this wasn't the first time that Billy Badass Francisco Garcia had cost the city of New York money. 2015, he was charged, there were lawsuits settled. Someone by the name of Dorsey, $27,500, Rogers, $9,500, Adams, $8,500, W, $3,000, and then someone with the last name of Tanco, whose settlement, we don't know what happened there. And in 2016, someone by the last name of Hernandez was given $120,000, and Daniels in 2014 received $14,000. Now, because I tell you all the time, when an officer puts hands on you, he can't just leave you. He's got to do something with you, right? He's got to charge you with something. So now Donni Wright has been charged with assault on a police officer, menacing, maybe Donni looked at him in a mean and harsh way, menacing, resisting arrest, we don't see any of that either, obstructing governmental administration, and 2 counts of disorderly conduct. They had to charge him with something, but this is going to go nowhere, family. Mark my words. The charges have already been deferred. Expect them to be dropped. The spokeswoman for the NYPD, whose name is Sergeant Mary Francis, is already trying to minimize and mitigate this bad behavior by saying that Donni Wright took a fighting stance and clenched his fist. Even if he did, I'd like to know what penal code section he violated when he clenched his fist. I'd like to know where on the continuum regarding the use of force it says that if someone takes a fighting stance, you get to slap them, punch them, knock them to the ground. I'd like to know where that exists. It doesn't. And so we'll have to see what happens. This has made national news. It's a big deal. It's not going away. And listen, if you live in New York, if you visit New York, you need to be very mindful and very careful, because when I tell you they are out of control, they are out of control. I'm going to share with you a video of another incident in the NYPD subway system where officers shot a man. He didn't die, but they shot a man because why? Well, he was trying to get away after they accused him of moving from car to car. I guess something that's akin to almost a felony if you ride a New York subway and you're moving from car to car while the subway is in motion. So, family, be safe. Stay in if you can. Practice social distancing if you look like me, because white, Hispanic, Asian, it doesn't matter the ethnicity. Officers who are drunk with power and overzealous are out there. They exist, and they will do you harm. Donni Wright survived the encounter. He lived, thankfully. Sir, please get a very good attorney. Do not settle unless they promise you a mansion and a yacht. Until next time, family, be good, be safe. Support Sergeant Dorsey Speaks at my CashApp and Venmo, or purchase my book, Black and Blue, The Creation of a Social Advocate, which is available at my website. I will send you a signed autographed copy, www.sergeantdorseyspeaks.com.